Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Collecta 2024 release. This time we've got ourselves the Polacanthus, and this one looks really nice, and it's also a great species choice, one that, we don't get very often, and definitely one that I feel like should be a little more popular than it really is. This is also another very welcome upgrade compared to the older Polacanthus that was released from Collecta quite a ways back. It's also another fun one because it is another deluxe figure, and previously I think the Polacanthus they had released was maybe part of the Age of Dinosaurs line, so it was a much smaller size, as we now have a much larger version of this animal. But overall, it looks really good. The only way to truly tell, though, how good is with a closer look, so let's jump to it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see some nice looking skin texture is present. We also have a very nice light brown tone with a black or dark gray dry brushing. They've done a pretty good job of bringing out some of the scale detail here in the head with that darker tone that they've dry brushed over. You can also see a lighter tone there for the eye with a black pupil. Almost looks like we have like a pink eye, which is a very interesting tone of color. The beak also sports a black tone of color there, as you can see, very similar in color to what we have moving along the back of the dinosaur. The mouth is in an open position, which you can see the tongue in there. It is painted inside the mouth. It's just a little hard to get in there and really see. First of all, the inside of the mouth and the upper side is not painted, but you can see the tongue is definitely painted on the inside of the mouth. As you move back, you can see the very nice armored look for our Polacanthus. And they've done a very good job, I think, in painting a lot of the spikes and everything that are kind of leading along the course of the dinosaur. You can see that we've got this light sort of brownish tone, but then we also have some darker shades of brown right here that pretty much overtake a large portion of the spikes. But as you lead out here into the side spikes, you've got that brownish tone, that dark brown that sort of highlights the tips. And on top of that, there's also a very nice dark wash applied to the figure overall, and you can see that dark wash definitely helps to highlight all of the slight kind of cracks and crevices in these spikes moving along, helping to show how impressive of a sculpt the dinosaur is. Moving along the back of our Polacanthus, you can see we've got this very dark tone of color, and it kind of looks like we might have a slight dry brushing with a variation of a gray. I kind of feel like maybe a little bit of a brighter gray would have highlighted all of the detail just a little bit nicer, but when you look at it from the side, you can definitely see that grayish tone highlighting some of the osteoderm-like scutes and stuff moving along the course of the back of the dinosaur. You can also, again, appreciate how good the scale detail and fine detail in general is on this as you move along. It looks extremely nice. Definitely very crisp as well. As you lead down here along the side of the animal, you can see the dark wash again is present through the course of the entire figure. Really present on the underside. You can see some skin wrinkles and stuff moving along as you lead down toward the front leg. The dinosaur looks like maybe it had just taken kind of like a step forward and is planting this foot down. And we have some nice variation of color as you move through, some very nice slight kind of airbrushing that's been applied to a few certain spots to highlight the paintwork here really nicely, and again add a little bit more to the overall coloration of the dinosaur. As you lead down, you can see the elbow present on the front leg, some nice creasing in the joint of the elbow, again showing off that step that it's taking. And you can also see we transition to a darker tone as you lead down into the foot. The toes are sculpted pretty nicely, and we've got the nails painted with a variation of a gray. As you move up into the stomach, again, the scale detail looks really good. You've got quite a lot of it going on here. You can also see a little bit of kind of like a pot belly for our dinosaur. Again, the darker browns showing up before and after the stomach, and you can also see the lighter tone there shining in the stomach region of the dinosaur. The dark wash again tying it all together. And then we move back here into the thigh. The muscle definition again is present, but it's not overly defined or anything like that. You again have the calf muscle. Just like we saw on the front leg, we transition very smoothly and naturally to a darker tone down here in the feet. You do have some scoots running down the toes, and then again the gray nails down there, and then as you lead back up, you've got a few more skin wrinkles as you lead out here into the tail. Again, the skin texture continues to look really nice. We have more of those sort of like spikes sticking out of the side of the tail of the dinosaur, all painted similarly to what we saw earlier on in the dinosaur, where we have like that lighter variation of a brown that transitions very nicely to a darker brown for the tips as you lead out. You can see the tail for the most part is kind of just straight out, but if you look at it from the side, it leads into an upward position pretty nicely as well. As you lead along the underside, again, you've got some nice light browns, but that dark wash continues to really highlight all of the detail here along the underside. You can see the cloaca again is also highlighted with a dark variation of a brown, and you have again lots of very, very, very impressive detailing here on the underside. Like the scale detail looks really good, and all of the minor kind of skin folds and wrinkles and creases and stuff looks really nice as well. A little bit heavy again in a few areas when it comes to the dark wash, similar to what we saw on the Placerius, but still for the most part, again, the dark wash looks really good, and I am always happy about the addition of a dark wash applied to any figure. I definitely think it helps to just add so much more life to the paint job of any figure. Obviously, you can see for the most part it looks the same over here, same style of dry brushing on the face. The dinosaur has its head turned slightly toward its left and also leaning up a little bit. You can see the throat here on the underside of the dinosaur. As you move back, you can see this leg is just back a little bit further compared to the other one, showing how it almost looks like the dinosaur was just sort of standing there. Maybe it's taking just one step forward. Maybe it's just kind of kicking up some dirt, sort of like showing off a defensive display. Kind of also gives me that feeling a little bit. But as you move back, you'll see that again, for the most part, there's not a whole lot of difference on this side compared to the initial side, but it still looks, again, very nice, very consistent to what we had seen on the initial side. So when it comes to a Polacanthus, I would absolutely say this is the best one on the market currently. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at about a little bit under 11¼ inches, or about the 28.5 centimeter range, and the highest point is definitely the tip of the tail, which you're going to find it at about 4¾ inches, or around 12 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collecta human being next to our Collecta Deluxe Polacanthus, and you can see it does sport a very nice, very impressive size. Overall, I would say it's probably one of the largest releases from Collecta for this year. And then for just a few randoms, we have the Collecta Deluxe Dimetrodon, as well as the Schleich Diabloceratops next to our Polacanthus, to give you another idea here of the size. And then if you want to talk about one heck of an upgrade, here is the older version of the Collecta Polacanthus next to the current version, you know, the 2024 version. And man, what a difference between these two. Even though the older one is really fun, I actually really quite like that figure, but you can see as far as like the overall size as well as accuracy, I think they definitely improved a lot on this version of the Polacanthus. The newer one obviously is far superior and a lot bigger. For another size comparison, we also have one of the stars of the show, I would say, from, I think it was last year. We have the Stegosaurus from Collecta next to the Polacanthus, and obviously when it comes to the figures here, even though in real life it would be a bit different, but the Stegosaurus is a bit larger here than our Polacanthus, but regardless, you can see the Polacanthus isn't too far off, which should help to give you an idea of the fact that it's pretty decently sized. We've also got the Collecta Deluxe Triceratops, which is a very popular release from Collecta, next to the Polacanthus, to give you one more idea of the size. And then a totally random Polacanthus figure, as we have the TS Toys version here next to the Collecta version. Obviously, the Collecta version is far superior. And then one final comparison, we have the Toy-Way version for the Walking with Dinosaurs series of the Polacanthus next to the Collecta version, just to give you one final comparison in case you happen to have that Walking with Dinosaurs version. So this brand new 2024 Collecta Deluxe Polacanthus is another really nice figure, and in this case I actually really quite like one aspect about this that I don't know that other people are going to be a big fan of, and that is the kind of dull coloration for this dinosaur. You know, a lot of the time Collecta will release figures that sport a little bit of flashiness, whereas this one for the most part is really dull in its coloration, but I think that's something that is appealing about it because I feel like it's fairly natural. You know, a species like this would probably try its best to not make itself so known, maybe try to camouflage a little bit with its backdrop so it's not so obvious out there in the open for any sort of a predator that might be intrigued in taking itself a nice meal. So the coloration that we have for this, I feel like, would definitely help the dinosaur camouflage quite nicely, help to conceal itself and maybe not be quite so obvious. And again, overall, I feel like Collecta did a very good job in choosing the colors of this one, giving it more of the darker, sort of dreary colors that it has, in my opinion, is more naturalistic. And you can see, again, moving through the course of the figure, the paint apps have been applied very nicely, and I'm definitely a big fan, especially of the dark wash that they've applied to it. On top of that, the sculpt is really nicely done. It has a nice pose, nothing too overly dramatic, just a nice kind of natural pose with one leg taking a step forward, sort of like I said earlier, giving it almost like that defensive posture, like maybe it's trying to just scare something off and maybe try to secure its safety here with a defensive display. And I think that as well looks pretty good. It doesn't always have to be crazy flashy for it to be good. Definitely a nice choice as far as the pose goes as well. So again, a very cool figure, another really nice addition to the deluxe line from Collecta. Like I've said in the last few Collecta reviews, if you are interested in grabbing this guy when it does release, make sure you continue to follow Everything Dinosaur, because that is where it will be coming into stock fairly soon, I think. I don't know for sure exactly when, but it definitely isn't too far off. So make sure when it does come into stock, you grab it, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.